The truth occurs. The truth occurs.
Welcome back to the Truther Girls with Sonia and Karen, and we're talking to Isabel, who is a lawyer from Venezuela. So basically, Isabel is trying to help us to know how to not get screwed. To sum it up. So we were just talking about, let's say you have a bill coming from, whether it's the phone company or it's, phone company is usually pretty good because they'll tell you exactly what calls you made. But let's say it's the internet company, as what happened to me and my husband. They say that you're using, 100 gigs a month and they're charging you usage fees for it and you're not. And so that you were saying that what you have to do then is call them and say you oppose this bill, and that you're now turning the burden of proof over to the corporation, so they have to prove that you actually incurred this. But is that only in terms of that you actually downloaded that many gigs, or that is the actual value of the service that they provided?
No, the value was agreed and signed by you.
Okay.
So it's the use. It's what they're saying that you're using. Now, most people are afraid of courts and lawyers and legal and laws and name it, but they're there to help you, because your first thing to do, for example, will be to oppose the company. Now, if you think in a logical sense of what you're doing, you also should do this in writing, right? Because it states the proof. You oppose formally to the company, and in that letter you say that while this is sorted out, while the company has a limit to prove to you that you actually used it, they cannot, one, harass you about the charge, and two, they cannot charge you interest fees because you're opposing to the bill. Eventually, if they don't respond, there's something called equity courts, or the courts are on less than $10,000, from $8,000 to $10,000 and less. That's there for you. You don't need representation, and you don't need a lawyer.
So you go to equity court?
An equity court, yes.
So like a small claims court?
Exactly. And I don't like to use the small claims, because that's where I come in and I say that words have power. Small claims is just in a matter of money. It's because they're less than whatever. But they're not small claims to people who go.
Right.
Huge deals. So that's why I call them equity, because they're supposed to be equal. They're supposed to be just, and I'm not going to go into what just means, but anyway, use it to your favor. They're there for that. So in the letter that you oppose, you say to the company, you actually say to the company, I'm going to prove you my history. I'm going to be very kind, and I'm going to say, look at my history. I've never, ever, ever downloaded more than X amount of gigs. And I don't even have the need for it, and I oppose to the bill because I didn't do it. I am giving you 10 days to respond. If you cannot prove to me what you say that I owe, I won't owe you what you say that I owe. And
kind of the same way, in the same way that when they create acts and bills, and like when we don't, our silence, their silence in this case will become agreements to your terms.
Absolutely. But now that you have it in writing and you kept a copy and sent it by registered mail, you can go to equity courts if necessary and say, hey, I asked them for proof.
Right.
If they can't prove it to me, I don't owe them. Plus, I gave them this notification in writing. I gave them a period of time. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of agents that can reply to me. And like legal departments, they have the access to respond to me in whatever period of day that you establish, and they didn't. Therefore, they accepted the premise that I put in the writing that if they don't reply, this is over on my terms.
Okay, so you set your terms that way. Now, is there a time delay from the time you received the bill, their notice, during which you have to do this?
Yes. Usually it's 30 days. I tell all my clients, do it right away. Don't waste any time thinking. Do it right away. Because legally, intention is the only thing that matters. And now, I really want to make this a big deal. Intention. Now, the only way a company or even the law can come after you is if they can prove criminal intent. Now, if you act in honor and you respond right away by saying, I oppose to this bill, you can actually tell a judge, listen, I'm on top of my things. I saw the bill right away. I know that I didn't use this. Therefore, I'm opposing. Now, if you wait a little bit, you're kind of sort of acting against you because, one, why did it take you so long to realize that you didn't use this?
Well, maybe you just don't have your act together. That would be my case.
Well,
in cases where you don't have your act together, though, aren't there ways you can still protect yourself to let the judge know that you were doing your due diligence? It's just that you got caught up. Can't you write like nunc pro tunc?
Absolutely. You always have your lawful recourse. The time set that I'm giving is just to make things easier for you. But that doesn't mean that your legal recourse is over after a certain period of time.
Well, what's nunc pro tunc?
Well,
now for then? Is it? Isabel?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, we just want to know what's nunc pro tunc and where would you write that?
Well, let me see if I get this straight, Karen, because I think what you're saying is that as long as you can prove that your intention was not to pay, and you prove that whatever things in your life affected your normal way of doing things, like you get caught up in things, you are still a human before a court. If you were not doing nothing illegal or with criminal intent, your lawful recourse is always going to be there for you.
For example, I have a ticket that a fine that I received a few months ago, and I haven't sent anything back. I was thinking that I needed the original. I guess I don't. The duplicate is fine. So I was planning on counter offering, saying refusal for cause, without dishonor, without recourse. Nunc pro tunc, because I'm past that 3-day, that 72-hour window they've given me.
Way past.
But is there?
So should we talk about what do you do with the ticket? Let's say you get a ticket. What do you do? What's your recourse with the ticket? Because Karen was jumping rope on the street,
on the sidewalk,
and an officer came and told her to stop, and then started asking her for ID. She didn't have any ID on her. And how did it go then? They gave you a ticket?
Well, they handcuffed me, put me in the back of the car. They searched my bag. They couldn't find anything, and then they eventually scared me into handing over my information.
Right, because they said she'd have to spend the night in jail or the weekend in jail if she didn't give that information.
I'm sorry, for jumping rope?
Yeah, on the sidewalk.
Originally. Yeah. It's like 3 a.m. I don't know if there's like a curfew for rope jumping in Montreal. Also hula hooping.
Well, I have a different approach to police officers, and I have nothing against them, but I think their training is awful.
Oh, yeah.
So first of all, if a police asks me for ID, usually I give it, because my battle, when I pick my battles, confrontation is not one that I want to go through, because it takes a lot. So I give away my ID. But if I was jumping rope at 3 a.m. and a police, talks to me, I'm going to say, am I doing something illegal?
That's what she did.
That's what I asked.
That's how we ended up doing all that stuff and grabbing her and stuffing her in the car and searching her, because she asked, under what authority can you tell me to stop jumping rope? That was her big mistake.
Yeah.
Well, this is my best friend in the whole wide world. It's my telephone. I record everything that I think it's unjust, really. And you'd be surprised how the smallest thing as a recording device would scare the biggest policeman or agent or anything. It'll scare them to death.
And they won't just grab your recording device and toss it somewhere? And
Well,
sometimes I think these people are totally out of control. I mean...
Yes.
You know, so how do you know they're going to act in honor and not do something totally
they
crazy?
want act in honor because they think when they took the oath, they think they have authority over you, where they're just peacekeepers. They don't have authority over you. Now, I would take your case into court. I would actually make an official claim because the other thing that happens, and we go back to why I think this system works. The system is not working for people because they do not activate it. When these things happen, you have to go and make an official claim. And yes, people will tell you you're going to waste your time, it's going to be lost forever, but now think about what would happen if you make a claim, I make a claim, Sonia makes a claim, people in your chat start making a claim when things like this happen. Then the balance will turn.
Yeah. So, but how do we go about making a claim then? If I'm going to refuse the ticket, then that'll just settle the issue itself. But if I want to take this to court, how do we go about that?
Well, you go to the police. I'm sure you got the name and the number of the police officer, or you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
And you file a claim, just as if that guy was not in uniform, it would have taken you against your will into a car. What would you have done?
Right.
Yep. I would have filed it
that way.
You go to the police and you press charges. Now, he's going to contest you, and I hope he will, because then you go into court.
Okay. Does she need a lawyer then? Because
you never need a lawyer.
No?
No. You can represent yourself. Always.
Unless you're, like that's, I would feel comfortable representing myself because I can be pretty glib, but some people, they kind of freeze up, when they get nervous. And then I've seen this happen before, like going to court and then totally freezing up and saying all the wrong things at all the wrong times. And wouldn't you just be kind of shooting yourself in the foot, if you're that kind of person? I mean, what do you do to prepare?
Like
you'd have to really know what to say.
There's this wonderful thing called the Internet.
Mm-hmm.
There are support groups, there are websites, there are people like me you can basically ask me anything you want. There are people who actually have made a living doing court rulings who will help you. You can revise Asian court cases. The information is there. Now, like anything in life, the more you prepare, the more comfortable you're going to be. And the other thing that I think people forget when they go to court is that court is there to give you a space to state your case. Now, you're not pleading. Like, for example, when Karen goes, she's not pleading anything. She is telling a third-party objective, this is what happens, and I don't agree because he doesn't have the authority and he crossed the lines. And the laws are there to limit him, not Karen. Right. Karen can do anything that is not prohibited by law. That officer can only do what is written in the law, and he crossed that line.
Okay. So, Karen, I guess you know what you got to do now.
I got to file a report, I guess.
Now you'll have the men in black at your door at 3 a.m.
I'll have to file another report then against the men in black.
Like this, so they don't exist. That's the problem. So, okay, well, I guess that's what Karen would have to do. I wanted to. Oh, we're going to go into a break soon. I wanted to ask you something going back to the deaths and with companies claiming money off you and things, and then I wanted to ask you about the collection agencies. But if regarding what we didn't actually say, what is nunc pro tunc, and would she write that on a ticket if she were sending the ticket in? It means now for then. That we've heard this before. Karen's mentioned it. Does this come into the picture anywhere, or should she just go directly to
write in simple English? I mean, you can Google it and you can, but make it as human as possible. As long as you say the truth and you respond to the ticket in the duly time or later and whatever, you don't have to worry about using legalese or using Latin premises. More power to you if you can, but.
Okay, so that's good to know, because I mean, I took Latin, but that was a long time ago, and I don't think I could, write letters to the courts in Latin. I'd feel a little funny about doing that, you know.
Yeah, you don't have
going
to. They speak English.
Okay, that's good to know. We're going into a break. Stay tuned. We'll be back with Isabel on The Truth of Girls in a moment.
Truth the Girls.